But then last night, old Billy Belichick came through in one of the biggest particular ways that I've seen in a long, long time. This show, as I assume every other morning show or sports show for the next couple of days, will be about one decision made by the greatest dynasty in the history of professional sports that other crappy teams could have made. There was a player that was for the Carolina Panthers for a very, very, very long time. He's the greatest player of all time, if you ask Twitter, because that Carolina Panthers did a Who's the GOAT tweet without Cam Newton on there, and all their answers were Cam Newton's the greatest player in this franchise's history. Cam Newton was the guy that led their team to the Super Bowl. Now, granted, in that Super Bowl, they did not get a win. Von Miller was next level. Cam Newton allegedly did not go after a fumble. If you look at the video, it did not look like he did, but maybe he had a hurt shoulder. Maybe he didn't want to get in there and hurt himself a little bit more. Who knows? None of that is the topic of discussion anymore because the Carolina Panthers decided to get rid of Cam Newton after 2 to 3 quarterback spots are already filled and put him in the middle of a quarantine in a free agency frenzy that could not get handled. Everybody thought the Chargers were going to be the team that were going to sign him because they were in the Tom Brady sweepstakes. They're like, well, Tyrod Taylor and Cam Newton are already boys. They're working out together. He's got to go to the Chargers. Tom Telesco, a friend of mine, came on this show and he said, aside from Tom Brady, we were not in the market for a veteran quarterback. We want to bring in a young guy. Would have been Tua, by the way. If the Miami Dolphins take Care Bear, we would have taken Tua. We felt good about both of those guys. Tyrod Taylor with them move forward. That didn't make any sense. We're like, okay, all right. Tom Telesco, you have your vision for your team. You do whatever you got to do. Who knows how many tickets you'll sell? You do your thing. Cam Newton probably moved on. Jacksonville Jaguars were like, oh, they got to sign Cam Newton. They shipped Nick Foles, a guy that they sent $80 million to just a year ago, up to Chicago to battle it out against Mitchell Trubisky, which nobody thinks will be a battle. That's going to be Nick Foles' job. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars, since they only got Gardner Minshew, who was a rookie sensation last year with his jorts, didn't win a lot of games, but showed a lot of promise for the Jacksonville Jaguars fans that they haven't had for a long time, and ignited the fan base. So maybe Gardner Minshew's the guy, but they had no backup quarterback after you get rid of Nick Foles. So, like, you know what? Cam Newton has to get signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars instead, shout out to this guy, no offense to this guy, sign a Sky Cam, Mike Glennon. Nobody has a clue why. Okay, Cam Newton is still on the market. Then you're like, well, maybe the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns got Baker Mayfield, but what happens if Baker Mayfield goes into the Baker Mayfield of last year? We know it's Freddie Kitchens, but what happens if Baker Mayfield stinks at football? You got a guy who's already working out with OBJ. You got a guy who was an MVP just 2 years ago. You got a team that's ready to go. If you bring in Cam Newton in the Browns, I think everybody in the AFC North would be like, going to be a tough AFC North with the Browns there. You bring in Jacksonville Jaguars, you bring Cam Newton in there, I think everybody in the AFC South would go, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be tough just because Cam Newton is a one-man show. It never made any sense that none of the bad teams, the perennial bad teams who could have signed him, didn't sign him, because now, the art of hindsight, the greatest team in the history of teams somehow get better while all the teams that are bad get worse. Cam Newton goes to the New England Patriots on a 1-year prove-it deal, incentive-laden from $1 million all the way up to $7.5 million if he goes out there and dominates. The odds went from plus 120 to plus 100 for them to win the division, with the Bills at plus 160. Now they're getting into the Super Bowl conversation, and this one player that has had a hurt shoulder, he's had a hurt foot, he's gotten medically cleared by physicals. He's also a player that whenever he was put on the trading block by the Carolina Panthers, the Patriots actually reached out and said, hey, what's his physical? What's his medical? And then it came out, oh, the Patriots don't mean anything. They were just checking because that's what they do for everybody. They want to see everything. And then as we watch the Patriots, this whole thing, we talked to a lot of Patriots. We listened to a lot of Patriots speak. Not a single one of them said Jared Stidham's our guy. Not a single one of them said Jared Stidham's our guy. Bill Belichick on schedule release night was on with Rich Eisen, who had been nominated for an Emmy together for that Top 100 show. Rich Eisen goes, so, do you feel good about your quarterback room? Jared Stidham, no Tom Brady. And Bill, well, we like Jared, we like Moore, and we also like Jamar, and we got in there, and maybe we'll add some guys down the road. So whenever he said, maybe we'll add some guys down the road, I was watching, I was like, is that Cam Newton? I think actually the next day I came in and said, Bill Belichick left the door open to bring in another quarterback. And a lot of people were like, no. Bill Belichick was just talking about how there is no starters. You never know what's going to happen. I'm like, it sure sounded like he left the door open to bring in another quarterback. Josh McDaniels, Ernie, Bill Belichick, they're going to figure out Cam Newton, who's 2-0 against the Patriots, by the way. 2-0 against the Patriots. They saw him play, and they said, listen, if we had that guy, do you know what we would do? Plus, you add in the fact that Lamar Jackson 1-0 against the Patriots, and you start thinking about how their offense is set up. They don't have a lot of weapons, right? They have Sanu. They have Edelman. They have that
Dalton
Keene, who's a Virginia Tech tight end, I guess, who caught 13 balls this year.
Great catches.
But you got an obvious Sony Michel in the backfield. But they have the makings with a good offensive line to become a ground and pound offense with a little bit of a throw, a la what Lamar Jackson was able to do way back, Colin Kaepernick was able to do. And I got a chance up close to watch Cam Newton run this style of offense against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. And I'll tell you what, that mother is tough to stop whenever he gets going. Somehow the Patriots make a move that nobody else was willing to do in the middle of a quarantine when they couldn't get their doctors on them. They somehow negotiate a deal for $1 million. $1 million they're paying somebody who was an MVP 2 years ago with the potential of it to go to $7.5 million. And somehow the greatest GM, the greatest coach of all time, the dynasty that we all thought was dead because they're going to have to play a guy who only throws pick sixes instead of him, now has a guy who was an MVP just 2 years ago, and all of a sudden they're bettering everybody again. And welcome to the show. All the boys are here. At Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, looking great. At Evan Foxy, how's it going? Was nice to get back into Michigan. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, Boston Connor. Why are you so happy? Why are you so Jared Studham? Remember, we got Jared Studham. We got Jared Studham.
Yeah, it was better than having one Super Bowl MVP caliber quarterback in the locker room. Having two, and now that's what we got.
Who's your other Super Bowl caliber MVP quarterback?
Jared Stidham.
So you're not out on Jared Stidham at this point. You just know that Cam Newton's going to be your starter, and Jared Stidham, yet again, is not going to see the football field unless he wants to come on and throw a couple pick sixes.
Well, here's the thing. I know that Cam Newton's going to go ahead and lead us to a Super Bowl, and we're going to have 7 before any other franchise in the NFL. But what Jared Stidham is, now he sits behind Brady for a year. Now he gets Cam Newton. He's going to be a super quarterback next year and probably win 8 next year as well.
Okay, but if he 8 games, you mean? Or
No, the 8th Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
The 8th Bowl.
Let's look at your jersey, please, for the amount of... are you in on Stidham still? Are you sure? Oh, now it's a Cam Newton jersey, huh? Is that what it... Oh, wow.
Oh, by the way, I am so happy for Tom Brady. I am so glad that he found a new team that he wants to be on. And I'm so glad that he's going to go ahead and, let us win a 7th Super Bowl.
Let's read your stupid-ass sign up there behind you.
Not stupid. This is actually a very interesting language. I don't know if you guys have seen it before. It is called Newton-Indianism. Welcome to New England, Mr. Newton.
Well, you're in Indianapolis right now, so...
Welcome to New England from Indianapolis, Mr. Newton.
Yeah. I tell you what. These New England Patriots fans, you saw them sipping a little humility, okay? You saw it. They saw the Hulu commercial with Tom, I'm not going anywhere. They erupted. Like, we knew Tom wasn't leaving. We knew this, okay? He's going to be our quarterback. We're going to go get 7. Here we go. Tom leaves, goes to Tampa of all places, and you see the Patriots fans start, well, it's Bill Belichick anyways. And then after that whole thing, they started to sink in like, we might have a terrible quarterback play. Like, this might be a real problem. Like, this might be a legit problem. Now, last night, Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen sent out a tweet, and all of a sudden, New England Patriots fans are back. You ain't never leaving. Ever.
Yeah.
Cam Newton might turn this 1-year deal with $7.5 million in incentives into the next 10 years. He could play another 10 years if he wanted. Well, and I would assume that what Josh McDaniels did with Tim Tebow out there in Denver, that team won by their defense, but then Tim Tebow hits a slant in the playoffs to Demaryius Thomas. Shout out. Go rest in peace to the Steelers. But Josh McDaniels, I think, especially with Bill Belichick, who's lost now to Cam twice and to Lamar, who knows exactly what they do. I mean, this could potentially be a real problem. And if they do the ground and pound with them with that defense, you keep the other team off the field. And then when your defense comes in, it's smothering. I mean, that's just the most classic way of winning football games is to run the ball and stop the other team. And it feels like Cam Newton is a guy that could do it. And everybody's like, we don't even know if he can throw. I mean, the son of a bitch can throw. Let me let you know, Cam Newton is unbelievable. I'm not happy that Cam Newton ended up on the New England Patriots. I assume everybody else isn't happy. You got a lot of people tweeting, though, that, oh, Cam's not even good at football anymore. It's like, well, I disagree. He's healthy for the first time in, 2 years. Yeah. His foot was in a preseason game, came out of nowhere. That fasciitis thing just literally can pop up out of nowhere. He goes on season-ending week 2. Week, 5 or something, Ron Rivera's fired because they stink all of a sudden because he's out. And then this guy has more to prove. He has an entire, and I said this in my tweet, he has an entire Pringles can. I'm not talking one of them small ones. I'm talking big tennis ball holder. He has that entire thing sitting on his shoulder. He's in better shape than he's ever been, and now he could potentially become the best quarterback he's ever been with the greatest football coach of all time. Coach him. No shot at Ron Rivera. Listen, Ron Rivera, great coach, but now you're talking about that old sack of bones up in the sky, Ernie Adams. Then you're talking about Bill Belichick, who's been on the receiving end of both him and Lamar. Now you're talking about Josh McDaniels getting a whole chance, and the way the team's built. This and Mohamed Sanu, I guess, is friends with. I mean, this is just everything. Somehow, we are June 29th, almost July. We are going into a season thinking that the Patriots were going to suck so bad. So bad. I was so happy. I had my bird dog nunchuck just laughing at the Patriots. And now what do? They make a decision that the Browns wouldn't do. They make a decision that the Jaguars wouldn't do. They make a decision that the Chargers wouldn't do. They make a decision that any of these trash football teams wouldn't do. And they're paying them less than Chase Daniel. They're paying them less than Marcus Mariota. They're probably paying them less than Mike Glennon. Oh, I'm so mad. This is why the Patriots are the Patriots.